I want to talk today about selectors within the Fast Classifieds app. They are a bit of a technical subject, but they are useful for saving money when sending off job postings to OpenAI. At some point, I'd like to have a less technical solution for this, but for the time being, this is the way. And so I wanted to make the alpha available for everyone. And so recording this video is the best way I found to do it. So let's give a brief intro of what selectors or why they're useful. So when you're sending a website within Fast Classifieds, when you want to add a new site, you pick the site URL, the site title, and you could just send that, and then you could send this whole web page off to OpenAI. But the thing is, we don't actually care about any of this. We only care about these job postings. And OpenAI charges per what are called tokens, and you can think of tokens roughly as like each word. So Acme is a token, the space is a token, corporation is a token, and so is the exclamation point. So there's a lot of tokens here that we're sending off to OpenAI that we are paying for AI to look at, but when we're asking about job postings, we only care about this part. And so selectors within HTML are a way to target certain parts of a web page. And there are a few ways to do it, and so we're going to jump in and look at them now. So the basics of selectors, they come in three basic formats, which I think you'll find useful. The first are basic elements like that look like this. So there's a p tag, an h1, and a div, and they define the structure of the HTML document. And if we flip over to this very basic HTML page, which you can see here on the screen, it's got a site title, some informational text, and then some error text. And this is when we start to get into an HTML page, this is the structure. We'll see that there's a head, which is metadata about the document. So we can have stuff like the title, which shows up here. And we have some styling showing some examples from selectors, which we'll come back to in a second. And then down here, we have the body, which consists of, as you saw, the H1 and P tags from our selectors list, and that's how they look. There's always an opening and a closing, similar to opening and closing. And we can target the H1, for an example, with a selector. So the way that selectors look is if we want to target a P, we would type P, H1, H1 div, and so on. So if we want to target a P, we can go like this, and it'll target down here. And for every P, we can add a border bottom. And we can see that on the screen here. Next up, we have classes. Classes are a way to interact with multiple elements on the page. So if we wanted to have some informational text multiple times, like so, we can see that we can target all of them and make them green. Similarly, if we wanted to have multiple errors, we could target all of them with the error class. And a class will look like this or like this. And then to actually target it, we put a period and we just take the class name and put it next to it. And so you can see that's what's happening here. .error then targets class error, and we're setting a color to red. So classes for multiple of the same element, but now we want to target all of the elements. So we can see we have some P or paragraphs that are info and some that are errors. Lastly, we have IDs, which are identified with ID. And then to target them, we add a pound sign. And they are used to interact with a single element on the page. So an example of this would be the site title. There's only one site title. It wouldn't make sense, for example, to have a book that has two titles. A book has one title. So an ID is for something that only appears once. And we can target it with a pound here as we are text aligning center. And so if we jump over to this kind of real page, how can we actually use selectors or find them within this page? Actually, let me jump back here real quick. So if we come down here, we right click and we hit inspect. We can see that this is the beginning. It's kind of a hierarchical structure. And on any of these, on the elements tab, we can click in. And on the left side, you see it gets highlighted. So if we wanted to figure out like what this is another error is, we can come in here. And so first you start with HTML, you see everything's highlighted. It's not the head, so it's the body. So we expand and we come down and we see that it is a P with a class of error. And so then we could either use a selector for P or we could use a selector for class to target that, depending on what you wanted to do. Like if you wanted to add a border bottom to every paragraph tag, we target the P. If we wanted to add colors for info or error, we target the class. And so if we come over to a real page, this you can imagine this is you job searching and looking for job posting boards. You can come here, you can right click, inspect, come to the elements, and now what we want to do is skip this title that's not helpful, the about me that's not helpful, and we just want to target job postings. So we can follow the same kind of procedure. We start at the top. It's not the head, it is the body. So we expand. And you can see as we slowly move down the page and we get to this section, and that looks useful. And so scroll down and we can see that that highlights everything. And if we click in to see if there's anything more, well, now we can see we've gone a little bit maybe too deep. We have this job postings, but maybe there's also more unuseful information up here, so we can keep going. And oh, that table actually highlights just the jobs, which could be perfect. And now when we click in, right, see, you can keep going all the way down. And so maybe this is actually as far as we want to be, because right here now we're looking at individual jobs. We've gone too far. So maybe we'll stop at, we could either target T body or we could target class job list. And that looks probably what we actually want to target is job list. So then we could come back to fast classifieds and we could put in here for our CS selector, target a class, because remember classes start with, we go from class and then we target it with a period. And we could target like so. I've also built in a helpful little debugger. So if I take the URL and place it in here, the site title gets auto-populated, and then our CSS selector goes in here. And so we said it was class name job list, and we can then run our scraper on that page. And this output's kind of, you can peek through and you can see that we were looking for like a senior software engineer position in San Francisco, California. And if we peek through, we can see that that has been extracted here. Senior software engineer, San Francisco. I'm going to clean this up at some point, but this is kind of what ChatGPT or OpenAI expects in terms of data that's easy to parse, or at least I've been told. So that's what we're going to go with. And then I made a prompt, which if you upload your resume, there's a series of instructions in generating prompts. A prompt is basically just a series of instructions to OpenAI of what kind of jobs you're looking for. So we can see that my prompt is, I'm looking for jobs that match my background. Use the following tokens and keywords to find highly relevant roles for me. So you can see I have like senior software engineer and Postgres and TypeScript and places I've lived, and just some things that's extracted from my resume, which I could clean up this list in the future. And then there's some there's scraped content, so it's everything on the left side gets put in here. And then some rules, which are just how to output the jobs. And so if we go ahead and hit generate jobs, this will take this prompt and run what I'm looking for on this list of data extracted from the website, and it will output some jobs for us. And if nothing gets output to the generated jobs, or nothing gets output here, you can go back here and look for other selectors that might be helpful. And so we can see here that we've extracted a senior software engineering position, and there's a URL to the actual posting with an explanation that it matches our senior full stack engineering with leadership, architectural oversight, and membership. And then there's some other roles here as well, like product manager, UX designer, DevOps engineer, and so forth. And so that is how we use selectors to find jobs.